welcome back to the Baller Diaries.
This week we have a very special guest, Claire Holt. Claire and I were teammates at Richmond for 2 seasons, so having her on this podcast is a complete full circle moment, and we are very excited. And so now I'll let Claire do a little bit of introductions before we get to talking.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. I'm really happy to be here. Siobhan, good to see you. I played all 4 years at Richmond. I was the team captain my senior year, and I graduated with my degree in computer science. I moved out here to San Diego, all the way across the country, and now I'm working as a software developer and a content creator. I graduated about 2 years ago, so me and Siobhan played a couple years together. But yeah, I post online about my experience with coming out as a lesbian, about with my experience about queer fashion and like other outfit inspo type things. But that's where I'm at now.
Yeah, no, that's super exciting. And so we want to talk a little bit just to start off. How has the transition from college to post grad been, and how has college athletics impacted your post grad experience? Like, is that still a huge part of your identity? Do you feel like you kind of removed yourself? Where are you at with that?
Yeah, I mean, people warn you that it'll be really hard once you graduate. And I do think a lot of people struggle with that, some more than others. But for me, I didn't struggle as much as I thought I would. Even when I was playing, like I loved basketball. Like I was enjoying it for the most part. Like it was a big part of who I was. And I think I was surprised that after it ended, that I felt like I had all my time back. And I felt like I also had like my freedom. I mean, with where I wanted to vacation, where I wanted to travel, like how I used my, like I have a job, so we got a salary that you never had before, like all of those ways. It was a nice change to leave college basketball, even though I loved it and enjoyed it at the time for the most part. Um, but it was hard to figure out like who I am because a lot of people resonate so strongly with the sport. I think I felt like I really loved my schoolwork. I was wishing I had the time to go like all in on some of these other interests I had. So it felt like a relief to finally do that. Um, but the transition is hard, but it's not as hard as you think it is. For some people, it can be like you finally have the time to do all the stuff you want. And also you finally have the freedom to like make choices if you wanted to move, if you wanted to like do whatever you want. Um, so I loved it. It's hard though if basketball is your main sport. It's hard to find ways to incorporate that like into your adult life. But I did a few things, like I played on rec teams. That was a cool way to like make friends, whatever. I coached seventh grade girls basketball like this past year. That was so much fun. I would recommend that to anyone. But yeah, there's ways to stay in the game. And the transition can be really fun.
Do you think, like looking back, what would you say that, sorry, that you did like really well to prepare yourself? Like, how did you kind of create those things while you were in school so that transition was easier? Like, how did you kind of create those other interests?
Yeah, I mean, I always cared about my schoolwork. So that was an easy transition. Like all the energy and time, like you spend pouring into basketball, like think about how much time and like emotion goes into it. Like all of a sudden, your primary stressor is not a problem anymore. So I had all of this ambition and drive, like just ready to be funneled into something else. And I already had school as something I was like working towards. So that was an easy like first pivot. And then with like social media and content creation, I started like posting online towards the end of my middle of my senior year in college. So that was kind of ramping up, and I didn't really know what like where that was going or what to do with it, but I had more time to figure out like what I liked in that way. I don't think you have to figure it out before you graduate, but all of a sudden you have all this time and you want to use it productively. And I think that your career, your hobbies, and also even still with fitness, you can just explore it in like a different, more low pressure, like fun way. Um, so I got into like, oh my God, I got into CrossFit, I got into half marathon, like all of these typical things that like post college athletes do. And I did it, and it was so much fun. So you'll see how it kind of diverts your attention in a good way.
Yeah. I also saw through your social media that you picked up kickball.
Oh my God, yeah, I love kickball. That was fun. That was just to make friends. That wasn't even serious like that, but it became serious like that because our team was like, I thought it was just like a joke. we were in like the most competitive division of kickball like you could sign up for. But yeah, it was fun. Kickball, basketball, running, like you can finally like skiing. I've been doing snowboarding, like I've been surfing in San Diego. Like you finally don't have to worry, like, oh my God, if I twist my ankle roller skating right now, like my coach is gonna kill me. Like you don't have to worry about that.
No, for sure. And I feel like you were always someone who was like pursuing different things and being very active and like having a lot of hobbies. So I feel like that's only just grown so much since you've had this free time out of college too.
Yeah. Free
Yeah.
time. Oh my gosh, that sounds like a foreign language right now, but
Like,
Isn't that crazy? Because I feel like you guys, like when you're in the grind, every day, like every minute of your day is scheduled.
I know. And when I have an off day, I have the horrible tendency of writing in my notes app a schedule for myself because it wasn't provided for me. So like literally this past week we were given off before the season started and today was our first like workout back. And every single day last week I have a notes app tab for like hour by hour. I'm gonna do my homework. I even like schedule in rest, which is so psychotic, but I'll be like lay in bed for an hour, cook dinner. Like it's
Oh
I
my
literally I
God.
don't think I'm like capable of having like no time, like nothing to do with my time.
Mhm.
So that's a horrible toxic trait. But so let's talk a little bit about your social media. So as you mentioned, and I can even remember you starting off senior year. And from what I can like recall, that's when social media was a little bit newer, especially in like the athletics world. Like we were just in the beginning of the NIL conversations. And there weren't that many athletes who were posting about their social media, like on social media. And so where and how do you think you kind of being later to that impacted your social media start? And then do you wish you could have like done social media and taken a fifth year and pursued that in the NIL space, or do you wish you had started earlier? Just like touch on a little bit about that, you being later, or I guess earlier in the NIL space.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I would have had my social media popping when I was playing in college for sure. I don't know how many opportunities it would have really gotten, but one of the things like I'm always thinking about now, like I'm signed to an agency, and so I have like there's a manager, like people we talk about creative strategy, we talk about like what things am I interested in, and then they pitch to brands like based off of like what I'm interested in. So we always trying to find ways like to marry like type of content I make plus what I'm interested in plus the brand, like that's the deals. So if basketball was a big part of my life, I feel like I could use my agents to like find deals in that lane.
Sure.
I think it would, yeah, I think that would have been nice. I also think it would have been a lot of pressure, especially because I feel like when you're a college athlete, you have, and you're tied to an institution, like representing an institution, there's only like so much you can say. Like you really care about your like how you present yourself online, and you're a reflection of like your team, coach, school, like all of those things. So that would have felt really limiting. Like I don't know if I would even say, I don't know if I would even cuss on Instagram, but like now I do. So that would be restrictive. I think there would be a lot of money to be made from it, but I don't know if that would depend on like if your content is about playing college basketball. That seems tough because you graduate college and then what? So I wish I would have explored it, yeah, but it also wasn't really that big of a thing at the time.
Yeah, and it's so interesting that you even brought that up without us kind of funneling that, the having reputation, because we've talked about that in other episodes, how like when you are a college athlete, you have an additional burden of like you're the school too. And even like I remember Coach Russell like constantly driving home, like if something happens and you're the one that did something irresponsible, it's gonna say like Siobhan Ryan, Richmond women's basketball. And so it was like you're always an extension of your team. And so I think that is what's even like limited me sometimes in trying to pursue social media, is just because like you don't know exactly what you can post, and then you want to be so truthful to your identity on social media and represent who you are, but at the same time if that's conflicting with like your coaches and stuff, then that's put you in like a really awkward position.
Yeah, and like I feel like that's what I was gonna ask too, is like, post college, do you think you're like did you feel more comfortable sharing stuff about like your like sexuality and stuff post college? Because I know like for me, I was in an environment previously where I felt like maybe that wasn't as like acceptable to be like posting about. And then like now that I've transferred and stuff, I do feel like it's genuinely like a more supportive environment. So I feel more comfortable kind of posting and being like authentic and like being open about like my girlfriend and stuff. And I think that like that's really interesting, kind of, you know, like within, like we're saying about like having this image and like your school's image and all this stuff, and like some environments are more supportive of that kind of like being open about that than others. So I'm just curious, like, would you say that like you kind of maybe reserved yourself out of like choice or anything like in college versus then like did you start being like more open about it post college, or do you think it was like pretty the same?
Yeah, that that's a really good question. I felt way more free to do whatever I wanted post college. I don't know if there would have been any direct like backlash if I was like posting the same sort of thing in college. But maybe I was just in my head. I just didn't want it to affect, honestly, like I didn't want it to affect my playing time, like my reputation with my coaches, like I didn't want to look distracted, like anything like that. I also just within my own personal growth, like I feel like I was out ever since I came to college, like my freshman year, but I think like I became a lot more comfortable with myself, especially around graduation. After graduating, now I feel like I got a job because we're talking about representing our schools. You're also like trying to get a job post college, so maybe employers are looking up your Instagram, like I don't know. So all of that was scary. Yeah, it is scary. I don't know if there would have been any backlash, but I would have been devastated if there would be. I just don't think it would. It definitely was something that consciously I was like, I don't want to deal with this if it's going to be a problem.
Yeah. Do you have
No.
any advice that you wish you had received in college that you could now give kind of further along in your journey? If there's like even just a student athlete or just anybody out there watching that's like struggling with that or is trying to post on social media and kind of navigating their identity with that, like, do you have anything you wish you could have heard earlier?
Yeah, first of all, I would wish that I'm saying, speaking from my older perspective, I know that most people are nice when you give them a chance. And a lot of the times you end up like lying or just omitting the truth, or maybe just like not sharing your personal life with people. And I've found that most people will be accepting, are kind to you, and especially when they know you personally, like you would think that people are going to be rude to you, but give people a chance. Like I would say like have a little faith and like the goodwill of people. Also, I think that like with social media, um, I just feel the more authentic you are, the better it comes off online. That goes online and even in real life. Like if you just are yourself, you show up as yourself, like nothing to hide, like people like you more, they take you seriously, they can tell like there's something about you. And then also I would give just to people, even if you're queer or if you're not, some ways to make it a safe space. I'll tell you a story that happened to me at Richmond. First of all, I went on my unofficial, or this was my official visit to Richmond. I was staying with one of my future teammates in her dorm. And she was asking me, I'll never forget, she asked me, like, oh, it was me and another recruit. It was like, basically, do you guys have a boyfriend or a girlfriend? Like that was the way the question was posed. This was Alex Parson. I'll drop her full name
Oh,
on here.
yeah, she's the best.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, she was like boyfriend or a girlfriend. And like that little thing at that point in my life, I had never publicly said to a stranger that I had a girlfriend. Like I kind of had this rebrand thing when I moved to college. I was going to be out and proud or whatever. And so at that point, I was like, yeah, I have a girlfriend. And she was like, okay, cool. And it was totally cool, totally chill, totally safe space. And she probably to this day has no idea like what that meant for me to like hold space like that. And also one of our older teammates, Jade Hines Clark, who's like one of my role models, like and a reason I came to the school, has always been out and proud, even though if she didn't know the recruits were, if she didn't know I was gay when she met me or not, like she was making a safe space just by being in the space and by being out. So I always appreciate those kinds of things and those kinds of gestures from people.
Yeah, no, Jade and Alex are both so amazing because even I never played with Jade and she still came to all of our games after and like took a photo with us on our last game of senior year and was like, they're both so amazing. And yeah, like you said, those little things are so important. And in like a sport like women's basketball, there's so many different kinds of identities. There's so many different people coming from so many different
Yeah.
backgrounds. And that goes honestly for every sport. But like when you're on a team, you're meeting 15 people who have come from so many different walks of life. And so I always say like sports are so fun because a lot of times and a lot of teammates and best friends that I've had, I don't know if we would have been best friends if we weren't teammates. Like I don't even know, or like even roommates. Like I've had roommates where we wouldn't have been roommates if we weren't teammates. And so I think like basketball offers such an amazing environment and like being student athletes, it's something that we can really like learn from and honestly just kind of like grow as a community. So that's really awesome. Have you faced both support and negativity? Like maybe just talk about any backlash or like overwhelming support you've seen on social media as you've kind of grown. Like I know sometimes you'll post like DMs or like funny comments that you've gotten. So do you have any like crazy good or bad stories that you're willing to share about like having followers who are constantly looking at you and having opinions on you regardless if they're good or bad?
Yeah. Yeah, I have some funny stories. I get a lot of weird DMs. I don't get a lot of hate like people would think. Like I don't get like outright homophobia. I think like the algorithm kind of directs my content a certain way. So that's good. Thank God. But I've had some weird interactions. I've had mostly in public. Like because when I'm out and people meet me in real life, like a lot of times if I'm at like a gay bar or something, um if people recognize me, like some I've had people like be like grab me. I've had people like
Oh,
pull my arm to be like, oh my God, like I've seen you on Instagram. And like they're just excited about the moment, but I'm like, oh my God, like I'm so freaked out, like that you just
right.
physically touched me. That's kind of weird. Doesn't happen that often. I've had some people like DM me after I walk out of a coffee shop, like, were you at this coffee shop today? Because I just saw.
Creepy.
That's so creepy. What?
No, I had no, the worst one was I had this girl DM me, hey, is your address blah 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 blah, like said my exact address because
My
I
God.
had accidentally leaked my address by like flashing what was outside of my windows like on the street that I'm on right now, and they were like San Diego, like looked up the business and they were telling me like be careful about posting outside of your windows, but I was so freaked out that someone sent me my exact address.
Yeah, no, that's like so scary because you always think of all the positive sides of growing a social media, growing a brand, having all these followers, and like with your type of interaction with your followers, like you're very personal with them. It's like videos of you sharing your life. And so like you never even think about the negative sides that come along with that. Like people become so invested, like they know you, and in reality, they know a side of you through the phone, but like they're not actually your best friend. So yeah, like don't go up and just like run and hug or like know where you live.
Yeah, that's crazy. Those parasocial relationships, people like that's wild.
Yeah.
Grabbing, I could just can't imagine just like physically grabbing some random person and being like, "Oh my God, I know you." But
Also, I'm like too shy. If I saw like a celebrity or an influencer that I was like, oh my gosh, like I would literally be like over there fangirling on the side, but not even have the nerve to like go up to you.
Yeah. Yeah, same.
That's
Because like my stuff is so niche and it's like if I'm in like a gay space then like yeah, but if not then like total like it's like if you know you know and if you don't you don't, which is kind of
right. That's
nice about like the whole influencer thing is like you have your niche, like it's not like being a celebrity at all. Like it's only if you're into this stuff would you see
right.
it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
So
totally.
it's good, but I will say there some of the pros outweigh the cons by far and I've like met friends, I've met like brand connections, I've met like even my in my professional life, like people who know me from my content, I've made like my best friends from people who have like DM'd me, which is so weird. It's kind of weird. You gotta like sort through people, but like it leads to a lot of good connections,
Mhm.
way more than negative interactions.
Yeah, I don't know if you've like signed contracts or like what you're allowed to really talk about or not, but talk about like I know you just went on a brand trip recently. Like, are you allowed to talk about any of those experiences or like kind of just some of the things that social media have brought you? Because one of the episodes we've talked about is like how to get started in this, how to just go out there, be carefree, don't care about people's perceptions. Because we talked about a lot of like when you're first posting, it can feel kind of embarrassing if you're not getting the views that you want or if like people don't like what you're posting about and to kind of push through that. So we would love to have you who's been through that, gone through the grind and has found success, kind of talk about that process and then what it's really brought you that's like why it's worth it, why you should keep posting and if it's something that you enjoy, like keep pursuing it.
Yeah, no, I love talking about this. I'm happy to talk about it. The first thing is most people, okay, you remember, maybe you don't, but like when I was first posting on TikTok, I'm trying to get to 10,000 followers. I was posting like twice a day on TikTok. Like large majority of those videos are so bad. Like it makes me sick to my stomach to watch. Sometimes my friends will like go pull up a really old video, like just to spite me. It like makes my skin crawl. Like it's so bad. Like, and the thing is though, at a certain point, you get to like this perfectionism mindset where it's like, you know what like good content looks like. And, like your taste is way better than like what you're able to produce like when you're starting out. And I totally thought that the way to go about it was to like work in silence, in private, behind closed doors. I'm like getting all my skills, and then my first video will be like amazing, and then that will pop off, and then like I'll start posting once I have it figured out. But that's the wrong way to go about it. The seriously, the only way you can figure it out is by posting. And there's like little feedback. Some things hit, some things don't, and there's no other way but to just go through it. Honestly, I would say like if you're trying to grow, I would just say just you need to just get a lot of reps up. Like post. You learn fast. People unfollow you. I have people I know in my real life that unfollowed my Instagram because I started posting like my niche content, and I'm not even mad. I'm glad they left because I'm like, great, now I don't have to like try to keep y'all here. You know what I mean?
Right.
So totally just post. Most people don't even try anything in their lives. Like, no, this gets me mad because when you're not playing basketball, when you're not in school, no one's going to tell you, hey, you guys should start this podcast. Hey, you guys should start posting on TikTok. Like no one tells you what to do. It's all about like if you take initiative or not. And if you're going to go out there and do it or not. And it's like in your control, which can be good for some people and bad for others. But I would say totally post. Everyone has like their own unique perspective from all their combined unique experiences. Like you can tell stories that no one else can tell. You have a unique experience that no one else has. Like I would just say leverage that and leverage all the things that you're nerdy about, like things that you could just talk about forever, like your little interests, like things that you think are weird about you. That's kind of the counterintuitive advice I would give is like the things instead of trying to like read the trends, figure out what the girls are wearing, like what are they doing, um instead of listening to the outside noise and being like everybody else, like copying, just like be yourself and focus on the things that make you like different from other people.
Right.
Like leverage that. It's like an advantage. um so that's my one thing. I'd say I love posting online, even if it's not a full-time career or if it does become like a full-time career or whatever it may be, like it's worth it. Just if you have creativity in you and you just like want an outlet, like that in itself is enough reason to start. And then in terms of like what it's got for me, a lot. I've worked with major brands. Yeah, you mentioned I went on a brand trip with Sony. We went on an all expenses paid resort to an island out here in Southern California. I got to meet creators from all over the world in that. I've done brand deals with Nike for their Megan Rapinoe special edition collection.
Hey, I did not know that. That is so cool.
So sick.
I love to bring that one up.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no,
Yes.
talk about that. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. My agency helped find the deal, but yeah, they were looking for specifically like queer fashion influencers for Megan Rapinoe's campaign. She released like a few different pieces. One of them was like this tight camo bodysuit with like it had this like puffer vest that went over it. It looked super cool together. But yeah, that was one of my favorite deals. So yeah, I worked with Nike. I've been in an Indeed commercial before. They came to my apartment with a whole film
Oh my
camera
gosh,
set
I
up.
remember seeing the behind the scenes of that.
Oh, that was crazy. And then they posted that on their account, and then it kind of went sideways because everyone was like being homophobic in the comments. So I was like, whatever. But anyway,
got a brand deal with Indeed, so
Facts.
yeah, like it was so good. And so yeah, I've done that. Who else have I worked with? Macy's, Abercrombie. So yeah, it's been good. It opens a lot of doors and it like allows a supplemental income to my already full-time role. I work remotely as a software developer, so I kind of have a unique position where like I am at home. So if I need to like record something during lunch, like I could do that. But yeah, a whole nother income, a whole creative outlet, like all the energy I used to put into basketball, I feel like I'm putting into like content creation, and it's like really rewarding and satisfying, especially because my niche of like queer content feels really satisfying to make because I know it helps people. I know people need representation. Like once I got that feedback, I didn't care what anybody thought. I was gonna post whatever because it's gonna help the next little Claire. So I would just say, yeah, advice if you guys are looking into it, just do it. Do it. The worst that happens is that you're where you already are now. So it can open so many doors.
Yeah, no, that's good advice. Like you can't get worse than I guess what you have now. So that's true. Okay, so now talk about fashion because so I just transferred and I'm now doing my master's in fashion. And I'm just now trying to like post about more like my clothes and stuff. Like, what would you say? How did you find your style? And do you think that basketball and being an athlete impacted your style?
Yeah. Basketball players have the best style. I feel like basketball has like a
Yeah.
streetwear like
Mhm.
aesthetic. Yeah. So I definitely got like a basketball made my style cool. I don't know if I would have been as cool without it. Like I was into like the Jordans, I was into like graphic tees, like all of that. Like, yeah, there was definitely put like a streetwear spin on like maybe my personal style. So yeah, I bet. Do you think so?
I think so for sure. Like I would agree, like, and even just like my like teammates, like I feel like I pull a lot of my inspo from my own teammates. Like just last week, everyone's posting like first day of school fits, and I literally like was like half everyone's outfits. I was like, that's amazing. Like I want to wear like all of them, and like I just think that that's something like being around like a team of people who like, because I think we also have a little bit more like, I feel like basketball gives you a certain amount of like confidence
Yeah,
or
I
like
was just
a
gonna say
little
that.
something that like you think, I don't know, like sometimes I put on crazy stuff and I'm like, this might look stupid, but for some reason the fact that I'm wearing an athlete backpack might help make it look less stupid. And I don't know if it's crazy. No,
I don't know about that.
I don't know if it like I just feel like then people are like, oh, like does it give me slightly more credibility? Maybe not. Maybe in my head I feel like it does.
Yeah, I always think that being a basketball player at least gives me the credibility to wear sneakers with any outfit that I want because I definitely have like a girlier style, but I will throw a sneaker on it with everything. So I always like bring it back to like a little bit of a baller style with like a sneaker or like a little bit longer short. And so I'm like, I even incorporate it into my own style that way where I'm like, yeah, I might wear a dress, but I'm wearing Jordans with the dress because I'm a basketball player and that's okay. And I'm not going to sit next to a sorority girl in heels and feel bad about wearing my sneakers because it's fine. I'm a basketball player and I'm tall and it's fine and it works.
Yeah. I mean, that's what personal style is all about, is like it's personalized to you, your life, like your experiences, your interests. So yeah, it makes sense. All of that stuff is super cool. I mean, the WNBA is like the tunnel fits are like that's part of the culture. Like that's part of
Yes.
what basketball is. It's like a whole culture to it. So
I
yeah.
know. I'm trying to get my team here to do like, even if it's just one game of tunnel fits, like, because I think that this season when we play UConn, we might be playing like off campus. And so I'm like, let's do a tunnel fit, like exactly like the WNBA does. Like we could even do it like in the tunnel that they do it, like just one game. So I'm really trying to implement that because I just think it's so fun and it's such a fun way for like everyone to have their expressive style. And like Ella said, like the first of day class fits is really when everyone goes out because once the season starts, half of the time I'm only going to be wearing sweatpants to class anyways because I do not have time for all of that. But like seeing everyone's outfits on the first day of class, it's just like so fun because we're all used to like being in our basketball clothes all day. And I think, oh, maybe you want to touch about this. Like, I personally have like really found and loved fashion because of the fact that I'm always in basketball clothes and I'm always sweaty and I always feel just like gross and like dirty all the time. And so once I'm like out of practice and I'm on the way to class, like I'm like, okay, yes, like let's put on a little outfit that makes me feel good because I want to like have two separate identities. Like I want to be a basketball player, but I also want to be like a cute basketball player. And
Right.
so did you ever feel that way in college where like because you always I remember you always dressed up for college. Like you were the one who were always putting on jeans after practice and the rest of us were like putting on sweatpants. And I always remember being like, Claire's putting on jeans. Like she was dedicated, like you were dedicated to your fits. You always were wearing like a graphic tee and jeans every single day after practice. I will never forget
That's so funny. That's so funny that you would remember that because I feel like, yeah, I did do that. And girl, I work remotely and I put on an outfit to not leave the house, like super real. But that's just how I am. But yeah, I think especially like after college where you're not in sweatpants all the time, like you're not changing outfits 20,000 times a day, like you can actually get into like what is my taste, like what is my
that. Mhm.
personal style. I feel like that's when I really started getting interested in fashion was like more after college when I was like dressing for more different types of events and stuff.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
makes sense. And I swear, once I can like put on an outfit for the whole day and do my hair, I swear, like the problem with doing my hair is I know I'm gonna sweat in like an hour or two. So there's no point like, why should I do my hair? I'm just gonna put up in a bun now. And so I always go to class and I'm like, I have worn the same slick back bun to this class every single week. They probably think I don't know how to do anything else with my hair, but like we have to shower so often, and like so that's something I'm really looking forward to. Like post grad, all the things I'm looking forward to are all the small little luxuries of life that like regular students don't even realize are like a luxury. Like only having like showering in the morning and then being dressed for the day. Like that is such a luxury in itself. So I'm excited
That's
for
so
that.
true. I literally had that dilemma today because I was like, okay, I've practiced. And I was like, well, I want to wear a cute outfit. But I was like, but what's the point of me putting on a cute outfit to go to the gym to
Mhm.
then go back and like, and then you're after press, you don't want to put on jeans. And it's just a whole struggle. But I definitely feel that of like, I try to force myself to dress up, especially in my undergrad, because my undergrad, like, it was in art. And so like everyone dressed super cool. Everyone had their own personal style every day. And I was like, oh my God, I can't be the athlete that shows up in sweatpants. So I feel like that low key, like I forced myself to try to dress up every day. And I feel like that helped a little bit. But I guess like the last question I have that like I personally have is like, how do you like how did you make time to film content in college with everything else like going on?
Yeah, that's a good question. It is hard to find time, but me personally, first of all, I was making stuff that took very little time to edit and could be posted like same day.
Mhm.
So focusing on content where I'm just like I'm telling something like quickly and maybe like a little bit of editing and post, but like just like lower the time it takes between like getting the idea and getting the post out. Like that's
Okay.
key. That's key when you're like trying to make quantity. And then also my senior year was a little bit lighter like coursework load. So I had a little bit more time. Also I got to the point where I was having like, once you start posting, people start commenting and that gives you ideas for the next thing. So I kind of had a list of like things that I could pull out. It does feel kind of hard if you want to like commit to posting every day, you got to think of something to post every day. So that can be like the toughest part. Um, but yeah, I was finding those little pockets of time, like during lunch, right before class. I was thinking about it during class. I knew what I was gonna say and was just like ripping it and then editing really quick and posting like same day if possible. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really helpful for
Yeah.
sure.
Well, thank you so much for all the great advice you have given us. And if you are watching this episode and you had never heard of Claire, obviously go follow her immediately right now because of all the great advice that she has and all the great content that she posts. But this was literally so special to be able to like come back and record with one of my teammates and like see all the success that you've had. Because like you said, you were a captain when I was a freshman and sophomore. And so like being able to look up to you, we were the same position too. We didn't say that earlier, but me and Claire were. Well, a little bit, because then you were like also a point guard for a little bit. They kind of switched over.
I felt like I
But
was in the point guard like
yeah,
spot.
but we were both guards. But thank you so much. And if there's any like last minute things you want to say to any followers, but so far like we have appreciated you coming on so much, and everything you said was like exactly what we wanted our followers to hear, and it's so refreshing when you say it naturally and like we didn't tell you any of the things to say, and we've already talked about that in past episodes. So it's so great.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I've been following along. I was really excited to get invited. You can follow me on Instagram at its.claire.holt.
Oh, don't worry, we'll tag you on everything.
Okay, there we go. There we go. Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This was really fun. And to anyone out there that wants to do social media, that's nervous about post-college life, like it's not, you can do it. You can do it. It's manageable. I'm here from the future telling you you can do it.
Yeah.
So.
No, because you really started like just as you started Richmond basketball senior year, and you have grown so much just in the last 2 years. So she really is a story of like, because we were talking about this in an episode, like, oh, we're starting from the beginning and now like where will we go? And like you really are that exact story for all of our followers and all of our listeners. Like I was there from the beginning, and now being able to like have you on as a guest, that we were like, oh my gosh, do you think she's gonna come on? Like she's too big for us. And like you really started that all from like the Richmond locker room and your single dorm senior year, and like you did it all. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes. Thanks so much for having me. This was awesome.
see you next episode.